Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight we have Gary Moore, and Gary's going to be playing a tribute to Jimi Hendrix here, and he's going to be doing his own version of Red House. So let's get Gary up on screen and see how he gets on.
There's a red house over yonder.
And what an intro to the track. And straight away you can notice here that Gary isn't playing it exactly the way that Jimi used to. He's throwing in a lot of his own lines there. And what I love about Gary's cover that he does and his own version of it is that he has little nods to just about every little phrase and little technique that Jimi used to use, and he puts it in this performance. And there is so much light and shade in this as well. It's 8 minutes 55 long, and I'm going to put the link in the description as always so you guys can check out the whole performance. But the light and shade that's in this performance is really impressive. There's so much where it's just full on and quite fast stuff being played by Gary, and then sometimes he'll just then totally turn down and bring that dynamic down and play some really clean stuff. We're going to be seeing a little bit of that later, but already what an intro, just turned up to 10 straight away, or turned up to 11. What happens sometimes is that really technically proficient guitarists never push the boundaries because they're so set in that technical way of playing and getting everything to sound perfectly clean and perfectly phrased, and just everything has to be perfect. But Gary in this performance, listen to the amount of times that he just strikes open strings before then getting into a passage of playing. He might just strike the open strings and then get into a bend, because he's just really just letting it all hang out and he's really pushing it to the limit. And he goes into little phrases where they're technically great and technically accurate, but it's all within the context of pushing it to the limit and really throwing caution to the wind and not worrying about that overall sound of people thinking, oh, we just hit open strings there, what's going on? Because it fits the vibe of the performance. It's the groove, it's everything that he's putting into it. Sometimes players just play too accurately and lose the emotion of what they're playing. And people that play guitar at home have probably experienced this, where you're jamming and you're pushing things to the limit and throwing caution to the wind, and more often than not you're going to come up with something that is so much more interesting than something you'd plan or try and make up before you got there. And this is certainly what some guitarists do. Steve Vai, he's one of those guys that all he does is record himself jamming for hours and hours and then sits through it and picks out the great bits and then composes that into a song, playing all the great bits after each other. But that's what can happen, is Gary pushes things to the limit and always comes up with stuff that is really interesting and really impressive, and not lines that he's sat down and worked out meticulously. So what a start to the track, but let's listen to it a bit more.
And it's where my baby stays. There's a red house over yonder. That's where my baby stays. I ain't seen my baby. It's been 99 health days. Wait a minute, something's wrong. This key won't unlock this door. that something's wrong. This key won't unlock this door. I got a bad feeling. My baby don't love you no more, yeah. No more.
I'm just going to stop it there before we get into the main lead solo here. But I can't do a Gary Moore video without mentioning his vibrato. For me, one of the most expressive vibratos there's ever been. I just did a video on BB King a few nights ago, and Buddy Guy as well. And these guys have got such expressive vibrato. They've got a command of it. They can do any kind of vibrato. They can get their guitar to sing exactly how they want to. And that's what that technique will do. That sound, that Gary Moore sound, and that's, like I always say, the holy grail of having your own sound, and Gary certainly has that. Whenever he's playing a track, there's so much in there that isn't technically correct, but it suits the feel of the track and what he's laying down, that whole overall vibe. He's hitting open strings. Sometimes you'll hear an open G in there before going into a bend, because when you're listening to it and you're getting into it, you're not analyzing it. You're not thinking, oh, technically that's not right, that shouldn't be in there, because you're taking it on for what it is, as a piece of art, as a piece of music, and that's what all the best players can do. But let's get into this main solo now. And what a great transition into that low dynamic there. That whole solo was so well put together. I say well put together because it's all done on the spot. Gary's not sat down and worked this all out. He's got a natural ability for writing solos on the fly that would be good enough to just stick on a record as a completed solo for a track. And just there, he's taking you on a journey within the solo. Like, there's so much great playing in there, but he was taking you on a journey. He knows exactly how many bars he's got to fill before the turnaround, so he'll take you on a journey. And like there, we had that double time strumming with the right hand and just holding a chord shape and just moving it up fret by fret, just semitone by semitone. And everyone knows the destination. You all know where you're going, but he just elongates that journey, and then when you get there, he's hitting that root note bend. You know, it's just that classic ending to that journey. It's just a great ending, having a bend at the end of it. Pretty much, that's a great thing to do anyway in your playing, is that whenever you've got a run, whenever you've got a line, always end with a high bend, and it's just going to resolve that line or that previous run and just make it sound super cool. It's great to see someone of this ability just making up lines on the fly and coming up with great little sequences that a lot of players dream of actually composing beforehand, let alone coming up with them just off the top of your head. So super impressive stuff so far. Again, appreciation here of Gary's playing and the fact that he knows you cannot just jam notes into people's faces for the whole 8 minutes. You're going to have some dynamics in there. It's not as if he's going to sit down and plan to the beat exactly when he's going to change things. As a seasoned musician and composer and performer himself, he knows exactly what to do and when to bring that down. So really great little change up here from Gary. I'm just going to stop it there. You can start to hear Gary now opening the taps a little bit on this lead tone. Such a clean tone there, and a really great example there of that technical ability. Gary does a mix of both here, which is what Stevie Ray Vaughan managed to do as well, where he's got his own playing, his own distinctive playing style in there, but he can throw little lines in that are a little nod towards Jimi Hendrix and the lines that Hendrix used to play. So he's got that mix of both styles. So it's a really impressive thing to do. It's a really difficult thing to do. What you'll find is that most players will just get into their own way of playing and just leave the Hendrix stuff alone, but just take it on as a cover and do their own version of it. To the point where even their tone is nothing like Hendrix's tone. It's just, you know, an overdriven tone, and they'll be tapping away like Van Halen over a Jimi Hendrix cover. But Gary here keeps it really authentic, but still sprinkles that Gary Moore magic on it. You know that it's him playing it. So what a great version of Red House here by Gary. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you've seen another version of Red House that you think's as good as this one, then let me know in the comments as well. I know that Gary's setting the bar high on this one. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for the suggestions. Keep those coming as well. And I will see you guys at the next one. Rock!